Blissey has been one of the top and most influential Pokemon in Unite's 2-year history. In 2022, it was known as the best support/defender for 6 months straight. I won the 2022 World Championships literally only playing this one pink blob every single game. In 2023, luckily, we got drafted, but it was still a staple pick throughout the year despite heavy nerfs, showing how incredibly strong it was before. At the 2023 World Championship, I managed to win Worlds again, twice in a row, playing this pink blob in multiple games once again, securing my title as the best Blissey in the world. Well, today I'm going to teach you all my secrets. Welcome to the Ultimate Blissey Guide. Let's start with a basic overview of everything Blissey can do. I have Glide here to give you a quick rundown.
Chansey and Blissey's passive is Natural Cure. Every several seconds, Chansey and Blissey cleanses themselves of any active debuffs and hindrances. This effect occurs even if they don't have anything to cleanse. Unlike most other Pokemon, Chansey and Blissey's boosted basic attacks are on a cooldown system indicated by the pink bar under the HP bar. When the bar is full, their next basic attack will be boosted, dealing increased damage and resetting the bar to 0. Chansey's first basic ability is Heal Pulse. Chansey sends out a restoring pulse of energy, continuously healing a small amount of health to a designated ally and herself for a short duration. Even if no ally targets are available, Chansey can still use this ability to heal herself. Her other basic ability is Pound. Chansey slaps down in a designated direction, dealing damage and moderately slowing all enemies in the area of effect for a short time. Once Chansey reaches level 4, she evolves into Blissey and forgets Heal Pulse to learn either Soft Boiled or Safeguard. If Blissey learns Soft Boiled, Blissey shares a rejuvenating egg with an ally in range, restoring a burst of health initially, then restoring a smaller amount of health a few more times after the first. Blissey can hold a few eggs in reserve and use one after the other in succession, but will overwrite the previous egg's healing over time if it is shared to the same ally. If there are multiple allies in range, Soft Boiled will target the ally with the lowest health by default. However, trainers can aim the ability to direct where the healing goes. If no allies are in range, she'll instead heal herself. When the ability upgrades at level 10, Blissey is able to carry an additional soft-boiled egg in reserve. If Blissey instead learns Safeguard, she can grant herself and a targeted ally a sizable shield for a few seconds. When the shield is granted, it purges any debuffs, marks, and hindrances her ally may be under, and prevents incoming hindrances to her and her ally until the shield is broken or expires. However, it is important to note that Safeguard's shield does not prevent additional debuffs and marks from being applied. Like with Soft Boiled, Safeguard will also target that ally with the lowest health by default if multiple teammates are in range. If the trainer wishes to target someone else, they can manually aim the ability to shield them instead. If no one else is in range, she can still shield herself. And once Blissey reaches level 10, the move upgrades, granting even more shields than before. When Blissey levels up to 6, she forgets Pound and can decide to learn either Egg Bomb or Helping Hand. With Egg Bomb, Blissey tosses an explosive egg at a designated location. When the egg lands and explodes, it deals damage and briefly throws enemies caught in the blast zone outward. Like with Soft Boiled, Blissey can hold a few Egg Bombs in reserve and use one after the other in succession. If Egg Bomb is learned after learning Soft Boiled, both abilities will combine and share their charges, and receive a significant decrease to their charge cooldowns. Once the ability is upgraded at level 12, Egg Bomb will also moderately slow enemies for a short time after they are thrown. Blissey can instead learn Helping Hand. When activated, Blissey makes her allies egg static to fight, greatly improving the basic attack speed of herself and any allies around her for a few seconds. Additionally, Blissey also increases the movement speed of herself and allies until the ability expires. While Blissey is under the effect of Helping Hand, all of her basic attacks will become boosted and then go on cooldown once the effect ends. At level 12, the move upgrades, also granting a boost to basic attack damage to those affected. At level 8, it's time for emergency protection as Blissey learns her Unite move Bliss Assistance. Blissey dashes with utmost haste to a friend in need, offering a nutritious egg, granting them a massive shield and a large boost to their attack and special attack for a significant duration. During this time, Blissey will also intercept a large percentage of any health damage received by the assisted ally as true damage, bypassing any shield she may have on her. While she is rushing to an ally's aid, Any enemy she comes into contact with during her transit, as well as those around her rescuee, will be knocked up briefly and take massive damage. Enemies positioned close to and between Blissey's rescue target and Blissey will take double damage but only be knocked up once.
Hola, it's me, Trashcan.
That was fantastic. Make sure to check out his Blissey Spotlight. It's super beginner friendly with amazing editing. Link will be in the description. Now, for an in-depth look, first we will do a complete breakdown of all of Blissey's moves and animation cancels or combos involved with them. And then after, we will dive into Blissey movesets, builds, strategies, and positioning. First is the passive Natural Cure. A lot of people get confused how this passive works. Think of it as a full heal. It's a cleanse every 6 seconds that cleanses all debuffs, all stuns, anything from Pikachu Electroweb to Absol Psycho Cut. You aren't completely invulnerable to debuffs the whole time, basically just once every 6 seconds for a millisecond. The timer for this is actually 1 second off, so it starts at 10:01 and then the next is at 9:55, 9:49, and so forth. Fun fact, I memorized every single timer that Natural Cure was up for in the game for Worlds in 2022, so I knew when to go aggressive on a timer, and you can soak up a Pikachu Electroweb, any kind of stun for free and get it cleansed immediately if you do it on that 1 second timer. It's not as hard as you think to memorize, as every single minute is the same timer. For example, 9:55, 9:49 is the same at 8:55, 8:49. Every single minute is the same, etc. Now, on to the starting moves. Heal Pulse. There's not much advance to cover here on Heal Pulse. It's one of the most useless moves in the game, if not the most useless move. It heals you and your selected teammate a very small amount. Now, just make sure you are in range when you use it. It's really easy to accidentally use this on only yourself. Trust me, I've done this multiple times. And this same mistake will go for a lot of your other abilities that are upgraded from this move, which we will cover later. Pound. Now this move is extremely useful and very underutilized. Of course, it is your best secure early game, but don't be afraid to use this to slow your enemies. This can be extremely useful, and I always see Blissey's forget to slow enemies. Those would have been free kills if you just used your pound to slow them and do a lot of damage to them. Now the reason I say you can use your pound to slow instead of secure is your boosted auto attacks are another amazing secure early game. They do so much damage. So this is a great secondary secure when you don't have your pound up. You can even use it to combo with your pound to burst Indeedis from a very high HP early game. It runs on a timer, which is the bar under your health bar. So every time that bar is full, your boosted auto will be up. In a fight, don't forget to use your boosted autos when enemies are near, because again, they do a lot of damage. However, when it's just your normal auto attacks, I recommend not using them because they do so little damage. You should just focus on repositioning yourself or using your abilities. Now, there are very rare occurrences you want to auto attack enemies, but again, will be very rare. Now, one animation cancel to note that is useful, you can cancel your boosted auto with your pound. This is a nice fake out for out securing farm because it will confuse your opponents thinking that you're going to try to burst the farm, and it will actually be the optimal way to secure in very rare occurrences. When you hit level 4, you get the option to choose between soft boiled or safeguard to upgrade from heal pulse. Now, soft boiled. Most non-Blissey mains will never realize that just one egg from soft boiled heals you 3 times. Keep this in mind in prolonged fights where multiple Pokemon are low health. You should heal one at a time to maximize healing over time. However, you should judge when someone is in danger of dying, so spamming all your egg healing at once on these situations is okay. It's also important to keep in mind your Hypercarry, which we will get into later. In this meta, it's usually Zacian or Mewtwo X. Look at when they might want to go in. Prioritizing healing them over the entire team, especially like your defender or support when they're just going to back anyways, is a must. Even if you're wasting some healing, that healing 3 times over time, it will still greatly extend your Zacian or Mewtwo X's opportunities to carry the game if you keep them full health all the time. A huge mistake I see most Blissey's make in target priority. One of the most common examples is a super low health teammate that got out of a fight. They'll probably go back to base to heal and go farm, but Blissey's will waste multiple eggs on them. And another one of the worst cases that is also very common is self-healing. How does this happen? Well, if you are slightly out of range of someone, you run the risk of healing only yourself, even if auto-aim tells you otherwise. A lot of Blissey's think they are almost in range and use an egg, then end up only healing themselves, which is a huge throw. So always make sure you are in range to heal, because wasting eggs is really bad. I can't can't stress this enough. A key part to being successful at healing is also positioning, which we will get into more later. On to Safeguard. The biggest thing to keep in mind is looking for incoming CC and where it will happen. I like to pre-aim my Safeguard ahead of time to when and where I think it will happen. The most common error with Safeguard, and something that people seem to misunderstand or not know, is how it works around debuffs. A lot of debuffs like Paralysis, Absol Psycho Cut debuff, Trevenant Unite moves debuff on your allies can actually get applied on top of the Safeguard after you've used it. But when you use it, it's a cleanse. So you actually want to use the Safeguard after they use their debuff move instead of before. Now when you reach level 6, you get to choose between Helping Hand or Egg Bomb. Egg Bomb plus Soft Boiled is an extremely broken combo. It will give you 4 eggs and 5 later on with the Soft Boiled upgrade, which makes this moveset extremely broken. The best trick here with Egg Bomb is to time your boosted auto with the Egg Bomb landing at the same time. It will give you an insane burst / secure potential. Egg Bomb is one of the most broken moves in the game, as it can cancel a multitude of different moves, which we will get into. The most well-known and obvious is canceling a hyperspace Hoopa portal. The second most obvious use is to get rid of useful passive abilities. Most EVs have a form of this, and it's extremely useful to take away a Glaceon passive and Umbreon passive with one ranged Egg Bomb. It can be completely game-changing to the fight. Most recently, Mimikyu came out with an ability like this, but there's many Pokemon with this ability like Dragonite, Multiscale, and more. Egg Bomb can also cancel any moves that can be canceled by stuns, like Electro Ball or Solar Blade. There are many others, but there's way too many to list here. This includes most dash moves like Zoroark, Feint Attack, Garchomp Dragon Rush, and even Lucario Power Up Punch. Yes, you can even cancel Lucario Power Up Punch at level 11, which level 11 Power Up Punch is supposed to give Lucario unstoppable. It's supposed to be completely immune to CC. This takes extreme precision and timing, but I actually use this animation cancel to prevent Nouns Esports from securing multiple objectives with Lucario Power Up Punch when we won Worlds in 2022. The takeaway here is a perfectly timed Egg Bomb can do anything. It can be completely game changing, and there's an extremely high skill ceiling. I hope you are learning that Blissey is actually one of the most hardest Pokemon in the game. Now on to Unite move Bliss Assistance. The Unite move is one of the best Unite moves in the game and was finally nerfed after 2 years, but make no mistake, it is still extremely good. The most optimal time to Unite move is when your teammate is close to full health but about to take a lot of damage, as it gives high amounts of damage reduction and boosts their attack. A perfectly timed Bliss Unite at this time will win the game and can save any Pokemon through almost anything, but it is tricky because you need to predict when the enemy team is going to try to dive on top of them. Once they take too much damage, it is too late, and you should actually not Bliss Unite a very low health target, as it is not that good with the damage reduction, so you should only do so when absolutely necessary. Now the most common error I see with Bliss Unite or misunderstanding is that people do not know it is extremely bugged, as with most things in this game. First, I'll go over some of the old patched bugs. Bliss Unite used to not be able to be used on targets that were untargetable. In 2022, the only Pokemon that really did this was Serena. So Serena, when it was uniting, and whatever Pokemon it united would not be able to be targeted by Bliss Unite for a couple seconds after they landed. This was thankfully patched later that year. Funny story though, I showed this bug to admins before the 2022 Pokémon Unite Worlds, and they didn't want to do anything about it. Now, on to the bigger issue, and one I'm sure many of you Blissey mains have experienced. No, there's not a fix for this bug, but I can show you some of the solutions I've come to minimize this from happening. When you Unite move and aim at a target at seemingly random, it will go on a different Pokemon sometimes, as you can see in the clip I'm showing. No one knows when or what triggers this, but you can Unite move extremely accurately on the line, and it will still go to a completely different Pokemon in almost a completely opposite direction. I've shown this to Lazadin, our former analyst and co-founder of MathCord/UniteDB, so these guys are the most knowledgeable in the game about everything, and still after a year, no one has a clue as to how this bug happens. Sometimes your Unite move also just won't go off, which is a huge deal when it happens. Don't worry Blissey mains, I got your back, so next time someone yells at you, you can show them this video. Now let's talk about how to avoid it. There are a couple of things I noticed that makes this happen more often than normal. There's not much evidence behind this, but it just comes from extreme amounts of experience. Number 1, it tends to happen more when someone is on the outer edge of the Bliss Unite past the middle line indicator. So in avoiding this bug from happening, I always try to be within pretty close range of my target. Number 2, it gravitates towards support Pokemon, as you can see in this clip. Yes, there is a reason every single Bliss Unite went on Hoopas at 2022 Worlds by almost every single Blissey. Again, you can avoid this by positioning yourself out of range of the support Pokemon on your team if possible. Obviously, you can't do this every game, but trying to position out of range will help the odds of your Blissey Unite landing throughout hundreds of games. And the last but not least, number 3, it tends to happen more frequently if you have real targeting on, which the mobile equivalent of is player icons. I like to turn this off on Blissey, and it actually helps all your sure hit moves like Soft Boiled and Safeguard land with more consistency. Even sure hit moves like Electro Ball, I've noticed, are also affected by something like this in the game's code. I also noticed that turning this off actually helps your Blissey Unites not get cancelled randomly when they don't get off. Now that you know these 3 things, the biggest thing to keep in mind at the Rayquaza 2-minute fight, you should follow around the Pokemon you want to Blissey Unite like a puppy dog, staying near them, which will help guarantee your Unite move on them. If you do this, I can guarantee you will land 95% of your Blissey Unites on the target you intended. Now, who should you Unite move? This is where target priority is really important. You should identify in the game what Hypercarries are on your team and who is the highest level. For example, Cinderace is a Hypercarry and Trevenant is not. Even if your Trevenant is level 14 and your Cinder is level 13, you should still Unite move your Cinderace. However, if you have 2 Hypercarries, say you have a Zork and a Zacian, you will probably want to use your Unite move on whoever is higher level. However, if you get an opportunity to hit 2 to 3 people with your Blissey Unite, that could override this, so you should take that opportunity as your Blissey Unite does a lot of damage. Now, who are the good Hypercarries? Well, I made a tier list for you guys of all the best Pokemon in this current meta to Blissey Unite. A couple of notes on this tier list are some Pokemon are only up there with certain movesets. So Razor Leaf, Decidueye, Rapid Spin, Water Spout, Blastoise, etc. If you used other moves like Surf, Blastoise, they would actually be a terrible Blissey Unite option. So keeping in mind movesets is also very important. At the 2-minute fight, don't use your Blissey Unite move until necessary, as it is one of the best secures in the game, so it really has endless uses. You need to make sure not to waste it. However, throughout the game before 2 minutes, you should look to Unite move as fast as possible, even if it's not that optimal. This is because you want to try to cycle more Unite moves throughout the game, which Energy Amp is a crucial factor in. The only exception is when you are very behind in levels and need to win a fight to get back into the game. At that point, even early in the game, you should look for the best Blissey Unite possible. Now on to the best movesets. From level 4 and 5, Safeguard is the much stronger move, but from 6 and beyond, Soft Boiled plus Egg Bomb is a stronger moveset, as Egg Bomb gives you 4 eggs and even 5 later on to use. In this current meta, I think you should go Soft Boiled plus Egg Bomb 99.9% of the time. There are very few rare occurrences you should go Safeguard and Helping Hand. You can even go Safeguard Egg Bomb, but these are very, very rare.
Here are some other great high-level uses of Safeguard. You can use it when scoring on their tier 2 pad, and anyone taking the jump pad will not stop your score. Also, after you've gotten Rayquaza and you have the Rayquaza shield, you can use this on top of your Rayquaza shield to preserve the shield. Enemies will have to break the shield first before being able to damage the Rayquaza shield.
There are only 4 scenarios I would go in this current meta. I would go Safeguard. I go Safeguard if and only if Scenario 1. The enemy team has no Umbreon. You have another healer on your team besides Blissey, and the enemy team has Sableye. Scenario 2, like Scenario 1, but they don't have Sableye. Instead, they have at least 3 extremely strong CC characters where full heal is not enough on your carries to deal with. Example would be Mewtwo, Future Sight, Snorlax, and Ninetales all on the same team. And Scenario 3, your team is ranged poke. Example, Solar Beam, Snipe Shot, Spirit Shackle. And the enemy team is all melee / mid-range, like Zoroark, Dodrio, Sableye, etc. You would not need healing as they have no consistent damage except bursting down someone immediately. In those situations, Safeguard is better than Soft Boil. Now the last scenario 4, you have Mewtwo Y carry Pocket Comp.
Now the takeaway here is you should never go Helping Hand plus Soft Boil. It is the most useless moveset you could go.
Now before we get into the builds, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps me out a ton as a lot of work goes into these videos and most of you watching aren't subscribed. Now the best build, just playing ladder, which we call blind pick in competitive because you can't see the enemy team's comp. Every game I would go Buddy Barrier, EXP Share, Energy Amp with Shedinjadal and 6 green 7 black emblems. The reason I go Shedinjadal is because it synergizes so well with Blissey's Unite. When you Unite move, you take 50% of your teammates' damage. Most of the time you'll take a lot of damage from splash damage when Unite moving anyways. So you use your Shedinjadal after using your Unite move when you're about to take damage from any source, and you can literally make that damage coming in from your teammate disappear. You negate it fully while they go ham 1v5, so you will get infinite value during that Shedinjidal. Because of this, I think Shedinjidal is a must into any Pokemon with splash damage, which is a majority of the Pokemon in the game. Think about uniting your carry and then getting Gardevoir united. You would insta-die, nothing you can do with any other battle item. But with Shedinjidal, it changes and you will live through it with almost full health. Now in competitive, if you know the enemy team comp, there are certain changes you can make to your build. Of course, the most worrisome is Umbreon for Blissey. So Buddy Barrier should be changed out when you know you are facing an Umbreon. However, Buddy Barrier is such a strong item that even in ladder, when you run into Umbreons a lot, I still recommend using Buddy Barrier because a lot of the Umbreons that you face will not know how to fully counter the shields. However, in competitive against really good teams, you should definitely remove your Buddy Barrier. I recommend instead going special attack specs or focus band, but there are other items you can go as well. Another edit you can make to your build is you can go X speed instead of Shedinjidal. Overall, I recommend Shedinjidal, but X speed does give you a much better early game. So if you really need a better early game, you can go it. Now on to strategies and positioning. Blissey is unique because you can play it as a tanker support, which is very rare for a lot of Pokemon. Now your positioning will be different based on what Pokemon you're playing around. Now in general, I don't recommend Blissey tank in this meta, but it's still playable. The reason we are discussing it though is because this was the best way to play Blissey for the last 2 years really. Blissey has a great secure in tankiness, so it really has all the qualities you need to play it. Bot lane paired with an attacker. Some tanks have weak early games like Umbreon, so you can actually send these tanks top lane. Is much easier for them to level up. So that is a common strat we did at Worlds where we sent Elo on Umbreon top, and he was really the true frontline tank of the team, but for the first 3 minutes I played the bottom lane tank. This is really the only way I would recommend Blissey in the defender spot right now. You can also do the same with Wigglytuff and a couple other strats like having a top laner be the main frontline tank like Lapras or Blastoise. Now no matter what, your position should always be near whoever you want to Blissey Unite when you have Unite. Of course, when you don't have Unite move, you can run to people to heal, but when you do and a fight is about to break out, make them come to you for heals instead when you have your Unite move. Your number one priority should be getting off a good Blissey Unite on your Hypercarry in these late game fights. Another important thing to keep in mind about positioning is to always be safe. Hover around your backline carries so you can block and die for them if needed, but you're also nowhere near the front line so you can't get caught. The only time you should push up past your front line is to stop crucial hyperspace hole heal resets in the middle of a fight. Even when doing this, you should call for backup so you don't die. Your egg bombs are key at canceling all kinds of moves, so just remember egg management is so crucial. Don't just waste all your eggs doing damage, but also don't just sit on your 5 eggs doing nothing. There's definitely a delicate balance. Now the last thing I want to cover is the very high level strategies that you can do that no team does right now. The amount of practice involved by all parties is simply not worth the effort at the stage Pokémon Unite is in right now. My team has known about this for years, however we don't implement it because of the amount of practice time involved by all parties. Here's what it is. You can cancel your Blissey Unite and get it back immediately through a couple different methods. The most obvious one, but hardest to time, is with Hoopa portals. If you don't get the point of why this is so broken, basically it gives you a huge amount of damage on Pokemon and it will knock them up, and if you run Energy Amp you can get it back every 5 seconds if you cancel properly. So the way to do this is to have the portal between you, an enemy, and someone you Blissey Unite. Then you hit them, do damage, go through the portal before it hits your ally, and you will get your Unite move back. So you will get it back in 5 seconds and you can do the same thing and you will do a ton of damage. Blissey could even be like a main damage carry doing this strat. There's a couple other moves that can do this like Serena Unite, Dragonite Unite, Dodrio Unite, etc. But they all require extreme amounts of timing, positioning, and teamwork that teams are a decade away from reaching in Pokémon Unite. I just thought I'd throw in some fun future knowledge for you guys at the end of the video. Maybe some teams can try to master this. It'd be really fun to see this in competitive. I hope you guys enjoyed this ultimate Blissey guide. It's been a long time in the works, but I'm glad I finally got it out to you guys. If you enjoyed this kind of high level Pokémon Unite content, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, really support the channel. But you should also join my Discord because in the future, free coaching events, free tournaments, you can enter and get lots of money. I already have pro guides, tournament news, and much more already on the Discord as well. So the link will be pinned or in the description. I'll catch you guys in the next video.